Hey, good afternoon, broker partners. Once again, it's Loren Hawkins here from 3 Point Capital. I've got the pleasure of sitting down with Sean Smith today, owner of Apex Appraisals in Ontario. They are a new partner to us. So welcome, Sean. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes out of your busy schedule to sit down with us. Tell us a little bit about you, the firm, and for those that aren't familiar with Sean, he had reached out to us, and we've had some great conversations, and decided to partner, add another great firm to our appraiser list. So welcome.
Thank you, Loren. Yeah, as Loren said, we met each other a while back, had a couple conversations, and glad to join in on this. So, for myself, I've been in the real estate industry about 15 years. I spent about 5 years pretty much doing exclusively sales as a real estate agent. Was very interested in the industry, but the sales wasn't too much to my liking, and I decided to stay in that field and become an appraiser. So I've been a member of the Appraisal Institute for just over a decade now. Done close to 4,000 appraisals throughout the Durham region, and about 2 years ago decided to found Apex Appraisal. So we are, I guess I consider us a boutique appraisal firm, if you're looking to label it something.
Yeah.
There's a lot of appraisers, a lot of appraisal firms out there that sort of operate on a high volume model, and that's not really for us. We have a smaller group of partners like Loren here. We do a lot of stuff that's non-financing, but the financing appraisals that we do are a lot of B lenders, a lot of private lending, lenders that have maybe a more stringent underwriting requirements. So
Right. Okay.
with our lower volume, we take a little more time with the reports. The inspections are typically more detailed, more photographs, more research. All that stuff goes into the report. So that's kind of how we try to differentiate our company from some of the other appraisal firms that are out there.
So when it comes to the actual reports, the visit of the property, are you doing strictly at property reviews, or are you doing a bit of a hybrid based on the clientele's comfort of, obviously we're still in a COVID period, but we're seeing out west here a lot of firms doing, in-person visits, with a few that are still, doing the report, but using pictures provided by the owner while the appraiser is on site. Are you doing a hybrid, or are you strictly must visit the interior of the properties?
Yeah, that's something that's kind of evolved and sort of ebbed and flowed along with sort of the COVID lockdowns and restrictions, the public health guidelines, and that. For myself, I have a strong preference to go into the property and see it myself. I don't think there's any substitute whatsoever for that.
Yeah.
It's a more accurate appraisal, which, should be important to the homeowner. It's certainly important to our clients, the lenders. Initially with COVID, I guess in the early days, it was almost exclusively these sort of hybrid appraisals. We would, I get the way that we handled it, we put together a questionnaire so that the homeowner could fill something out and submit it to us that gave us information about the layout, the finishes, the level of maintenance, how old certain components were, things that we would normally like to have a look at.
Yep.
And then we required them to take photos of everything, every room, every component, the electrical panel, the furnace, all of these things. And I would have a very sort of strict conversation with them about, the honesty of those photos.
Yeah.
There were a few occasions where we caught people out. You'd see the picture through the window like yours, and it's a nice, bright, sunny day, and and there's no snow anywhere or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, in those cases, we'd follow up with a video call or something like that.
Yeah.
Certainly, site visits were sort of part of that quality control. I made sure people knew that I'd be looking in the windows, and I would actually take pictures through the windows and try to compare those with what they sent me and make sure that everything looked like it was current photos. So I'm kind of glad that those restrictions are gone. So we do almost none of those anymore. Maybe in the last several months, I've done 2 or 3 of, if somebody had real serious health concerns, but
I mean, the thing that you're doing is you're being transparent to the client, saying, hey, this is how we do it. If there's an issue with that, give me some feedback and we can work with you. Otherwise, this is how we like to conduct business. And this is the reason why. Protects us, protects you, protects our, the lender partner. And it, gives them that comfort of the reason why. It's not like you're just coming in here wanting to poke and snoop, right? So, you've got a job to do, and you're trying to do it to your best of your ability, because at the end, the more accurate it can be, the more beneficial it is to the end borrower, right? So
exactly.
So how was 2021 for you and your business, especially out? You said you're in the Durham region, right? So maybe elaborate for those that may not know where the Durham region is Ontario.
Yeah, so we're east of Toronto. Our service areas are pretty much the suburban centers along the main highway 401 corridor, along the lakeshore kind of thing. Okay. Don't get too much into the rural properties, but that's our area. We're very strongly influenced by the Toronto market. There are some differences for sure. But as far as 2021, COVID still had an influence on the year for sure. Okay. There was a lockdown at the beginning of 2021, which sort of seemed to suppress the market a little bit. I think it was February that things opened up again, and it felt like there was a bit of pent up demand when things reopened. So we had, I don't know, it seemed like our spring market came 2 or 3 months earlier than expected, and there was a fair bit of upward movement in prices at the beginning of the year. The summer was more stable, but then the latter half of 2021 was a different story. It was something else.
And have you seen that for the first quarter of this year? The tail end of 21 just continuing? Like for us as a lender, there was no change between 21 and 22. It's been consistent into this first quarter and into the start of the second.
So really the last few months of 2021 and the first, I would say, several weeks of 2022 were very similar. Mm-hmm. I would view mid-February as the peak of the market.
Yeah. Okay.
It wasn't too long after that we started to see the first signs that things were changing. And certainly before they showed up statistically. So I think one of the things that we do in our appraisal process, and I'm sure most appraisers do the same thing, is we line our comparables up chronologically.
Okay.
So I always have the most recent sales first in my list of comparables.
Right.
And we do the adjustments for differences in the attributes, the size, this, that, and the other thing. And then we have an adjusted value at the bottom of your column.
Yeah.
And in markets that are going up, as we had seen the latter half of 2021 and the beginning of 2022, your most recent comparables always had the highest adjusted values. The second half of February, we started to see that shift a little bit.
Okay.
And then certainly by March, our most recent comparables were actually a little bit lower than our earlier comparables. So that was kind of the first clue to us that things were changing. A lot of people look at market statistics, but when those come out monthly, that doesn't really give you the same type of real-time feel that our process.
So when you were seeing the changes or a bit of softening, was it in one area like a single family, townhouse, row house, or condos, or was it a bit of mix?
It was pretty much across the board. It varied somewhat for. The degree of change varied somewhat from neighborhood to neighborhood, but it was pretty much across the board. And, we're at a point where 10, 15, 20% now from the middle of February.
Oh, wow. That much of an adjustment.
It's significant. There's certain segments, I think more of that has maybe come off of the upper end properties.
Right.
I think the entry level homes are maybe being propped up a little bit by first time home buyers that were kind of stuck on the sidelines. So with the declining prices, there's new opportunities. People that were just on the threshold can now sort of move in and backfill that demand. So it'll be interesting to see how it is going forward.
Yeah, especially into the later part of spring, early summer. School's going to be getting out in the next 6 weeks, and typically some families, if they're going to make a move, will wait till the kids are done, so then they've got a few months to get adjusted in a new property or find one and move before the new school year starts. So yeah, same thing out west here. It'll be interesting over the next few months on how things play out on that. Have you seen anything different in sort of housing trends, whether it's type of properties that are getting new built, whether it's townhouses or sky rises, or that type of a mix? In Kelowna here, we're seeing quite a few new towers going up right now. They just broke ground on another I think three towers. So is there a trend in type of product coming on out in the Durham region?
Well, we're in an area where there aren't a lot of towers, so it's primarily single family construction. There's I guess there's just sort of in general terms, there's this persistent supply and demand issue in the area where they're just we've got mass volumes of immigration coming into the area. The housing supply just simply can't keep up with it. Builders, they've got labor shortages. They've, whether it's the labor shortage or the red tape. It just takes so long to bring new product to the market. There's actually there's a lot of political pressure to adjust zoning bylaws to sort of end exclusionary zoning, to allow for more creative uses of existing homes, whether it's laneway housing, carriage housing, stuff like that. You know, more flexible opportunities for secondary suites. And that does seem to be having an influence on what builders are offering on the market. You know, we're seeing more homes that have basements that come with roughed-in plumbing, that have egress windows, that have walkouts or walk-ups.
Right. Okay.
Even if somebody's buying it with an unfinished basement, that it's ready to finish and produce a secondary suite.
Yeah, so it's got that. So how like, sounds like a lot of what's going on in your region is in the Kelowna region as well. We see a lot of older, larger properties coming in with what they call infill housing. So where one house would be, it's now 4 smaller, skinnier homes with a little courtyard and all that. And it's, quite frankly, it's, you know, it's really making a big difference in upgrading the look of the area and whatnot. We've got a lot of multi-zone downtown where it allows the principal home with a laneway house or a carriage house, or what we call them out here. So it's allowing people to get into the market and then help with the rental income coming in to make sure they can afford the properties. Red tape for us, I mean, I think a big issue with getting product to market is that bureaucracy, right? The quicker that they can turn that stuff around, the quicker builders can start turning dirt over and getting people into homes. Now, I mean, the flip side of that obviously is with supply issues right now, but at least if we can get through the red tape, it can speed that process along quicker, right? So
that's a big problem. We had a representative from the Ontario Home Builders Association at a recent appraisers conference. They said it took 10 years from inception until the property was ready to move in.
That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable at any time frame. I mean, that makes it very, very difficult for a developer, planning, especially costs, staff, all kinds of things when you've got a time frame of that. I mean, nobody can plan that far out to make it affordable. At that point, they've got to I would say reassess that development and what those costs look like. And, they may go pre-sale earlier and all of a sudden now change of supply. And now they're going back to their their buyers and saying, listen, I'm sorry, but it's been so long. It's, now going to be another, 25% increase. And, that can push some people out of the market. And all of a sudden now people are standing there, going, well, what's next?
For sure.
Just planning on it, on a next date. Right. So,
yeah.
How have you found some of the new builds as far as details that are going into these projects? Have you found anything that's sort of new in the way of things you hadn't seen before, as far as amenities that are helping values or detracting from values? Out in the West, some of the new builds that are coming up that are what we call more of a spec. Some of the custom home builders are putting in some quite unique design features or other amenities that sometimes bring in buyers and sometimes detract the buyer coming in because it's not for everyone. Are you seeing that out in that region, or is some of the new product coming on pretty I don't want to use the word vanilla, but apply to more than just one sort of segment of the market.
There's certainly a lot of vanilla offerings out there. I think in terms of upgrades and special features, and that there's such a premium that the builders charge for those features that it doesn't necessarily line up with the value that people perceive it adding. I've even seen homes that have been finished that the buyers have specifically requested them not to put in the standard carpeting because they intended to finish it with hardwood themselves, because they could do it so much more cheaply than what the builder charges for that.
Right.
I don't know if that might be a function of the timelines that we're talking about. It may just be simpler and quicker to put those same finishes in, home after home, rather than sort of customizing each one. So I think there's a bit of that influence. Of course, there's higher end neighborhoods that are an exception. We're seeing a lot of the higher end neighborhoods are having higher and higher ceilings, which seems to be something that people like and are willing to pay for. It's an upgrade that they can't do themselves later. So
exactly.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I always like to end off a chat with something funny, something humorous, something that you've come across, or somebody on your team's come across during their career or recently, as far as oddity in a property, or decor. I go back quite a few years ago when I was purchasing a home. Walked in with our realtor. He hadn't viewed the property before, and there are quite personalized photos of the homeowners on the wall, if you catch my drift. And it was like, we were all kind of shocked, like, well, he was like, well, that's a new one for me. So is there anything kind of funny of that you've come across?
Well, I was greeted at the door one time by a pig, which I suppose is in some markets might not be that unusual. Mostly sort of urban, suburban markets. So, dogs, cats,
and a potbelly pig.
Yeah. So that took me by surprise a little bit, but it was their household pet. It was a nice, clean house. It was just their pet of choice.
Yeah. Was like a full size pig, or was it one of those little ornamental pot bellies?
No, it was a smaller pig, but it was a pig.
It was a pig. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. That in a suburban setting.
Yeah. Well, that's a first. That's a first for me. But I just wanted to thank you for taking some time to sit down and have a chat. I think some of our broker partners out there will take some great information out of that. For everybody, it said Sean's firm is new to us. However, we have seen some reports. They do fantastic work. The quality is there. The turnaround is key. I know everybody is busy, but if you're looking for a great firm to partner with in the Durham region, please give Sean and his team at Apex a call. I don't think you'll be disappointed. So thanks again, Sean. All the best, and we continue to look forward to working side by side with you.
Thank you, Loren. Good chatting with you.
Yeah. Have a good day, everyone.